Richard Mon is an executive coach, a writer, and leadership heavyweight. Whether he is blogging from a noisy airport waiting room or ocean surfing in a sunnier spot, he lives his life to the full. Mon teaches, he writes books, and he speaks internationally to encourage people like us to celebrate our strengths and find life's flow so we don't get left behind at work or at the altar. He tries daily to make his own luck. It is my pleasure to welcome Richard Mon to Studio 4 to tell us more.
Good morning, good morning. Yes, you can make your own luck. I think too many people think bad thoughts are negative thoughts, and of course bad things follow, whereas if you want to get on in life, you have to do it for yourself.
Did you always feel that way when you started in business, when you got your first job, that you could make your own luck?
I think I had something inside of me that said I could go there and do it. And I had a key event where someone said to me one day, "You're good enough to be a managing director, but I don't know how you're going to get there." You've got to work it out for yourself. And at that moment, I realised that it was up to me to make my own luck. So that's how I went back and did further education, wrote books, and so on and so forth. Just made it happen.
Sure. But as you know so well, when we take on new challenges, we're usually a little bit scared, and sometimes we have to fake it just a bit. Like, you know what I mean? Like, we know what we're doing, but we really don't. You think, I have never done this before, but I'm pretending I know how to lay out a budget.
Well, absolutely. When I started coaching, I decided I wanted to be a coach. I had some coaching before. I liked it. I wanted to be in that zone. I had my first client, but I really didn't know what to do. So I would take the book along to the coaching meetings and say to the client, "I'm a bit thirsty. Would you like to buy the coffee?" When he went to get the coffee, I'd get the book out of my jacket that I had with me, quietly read it, and then wait till he came back and then say, oh, hello, welcome back. And the next question is, and I just literally went book, coffee, and just worked my way through.
And now you're a successful executive
so,
coach
yes,
and a successful writer. First book for you?
My first book was about 7 years ago, and it's got a rather strong title.
Oh, is that the one that has the B word in it?
It has the B word in it, yes.
Was that My Boss is a Bastard? I don't know if we can say that on television, but I think now we've let it out.
If you say it slowly, you're fine. My children think it's amazing because, of course, you can't say bad words at home. I had to tell them I had special permission to have a bad word on my book cover.
Okay, so we'll say My Boss is a buzzard.
A buzzard's
How about
good,
that?
Yeah.
My boss is a big buzzard. So if you have a boss who is a buzzard,
yes.
I know you have a personal survival kit alongside you.
Yes.
How to deal with a boss who is a pain
yes.
or a jerk or whatever.
Yes, you need a survival kit, and I think part of that survival kit is recognising that inside you're okay. The situation you have is going to change, and it's not going to last forever. So what you need to do is actually start reminding yourself of that. So when you go to work, for example, in your survival kit, you would have self-talk. And I used to say, I'm not a dope, I'm not a loser, I've got real talent and real skill, and maybe my boss is in a tough place as well, because he's running a business, and actually he's under pressure, and we can be equally as powerful, and I can make some changes.
And get out of the blame game.
Get out of the blame game. I think once you're in the blame game, you lose your power, you can't do anything about it.
So you can change your life, you can be exactly who you are.
Exactly.
And maybe if you are exactly who you are, you lose your job.
You do, and I've lost my job, and in each case it's led on to something much better. And I'm eternally grateful to all those managers who said, "That's enough, Richard, time to get another job," because actually I wouldn't be sat here talking to you today.
The modern workplace, much changed since the
so,
days
yes.
of the gold watch. So to survive in the modern workplace, to bounce back, and I think there's a book coming soon called Bounce Back, or just keep your job or find the job that's right for you, what do you do?
Okay, I think there are three things here. First of all, in the UK, the national sport isn't soccer, it's trusting to luck. People think that they've got the job, they can just coast and do nothing more. So the first thing is to recognise you don't trust to luck. The three things you need to be successful in your job are people skills, productivity, and the one that everyone forgets is PR, public relations. So they're working very hard, they're being very smiley, but they're not telling anybody about the successes they have and what they're actually doing. And so when the senior decision makers come to make that decision, they don't know them. And they'll say, we like Richard, but we don't know what he does, we'll have to get rid of him.
So what's the difference between PR and sucking up?
Well, I think the difference for me is that sucking up is just simply doing it at random when there's no substance, whereas PR is establishing a reputation and establishing your credibility within the workplace.
You know, in tough times, and you know this so well because you teach it, when the accountants say, the bean counters, they certainly run this game, she's marvelous, but we can't afford her.
Well, when that happens...
She's really marvelous. Love her madly, but we can't afford her.
We just can't afford her.
Or we can't afford him.
I think the key thing when you're trying to get your message across is to add value to yourself. When I'm teaching people job hunting skills, for example, they will say, I worked very hard. It's much better to say, I saved the company $100,000.
So the managing director likes money.
Managing directors
the shareholders like money.
They like money, they want money. So if you put everything into a quantifiable term, then people understand that. So for example, if I'm selling coaching skills, people will say to me, coaching's just having a cup of tea and having a conversation. And I would say, well, the last managing director I coached after one session went out and earned $100,000 from his client as a result of that coaching session. That gets their attention. So when you're in your organisation and you want to get your PR message out, you need to start adding value to what you do.
Results.
Results count.
Always. And you have to, I guess, imagine, and I think I got this out of one of your books, have to ask you a question, why you're doing what you're doing. Are you adding value or are you just soaking up time?
Exactly. And if you're just soaking up time, you need to stop doing it, take a break, have a cup of tea, have a glass of water, and then kind of reset your clock and think, if I'm paid, let's say, $40,000 in my salary, am I doing a $40,000 job today?
What if you're doing an $80,000 job and getting paid $40,000?
Then you can ask for a raise then, of course, because
you're
doing a great job.
But, you know, there are some people who are just workers and they're enthusiastic, and they're not enthusiastic because they're getting paid a lot. They're enthusiastic because they love what they do.
I think you have to love what you do.
Me too.
And certainly I've learned one of the key lessons, if you don't love it, don't do it.
However, sometimes you have to, you know, pay for all those noisy children.
You've got to feed the children. And I think you can make a choice, though, that if you're feeding the children, you can change your job and you can do something different and get back to what you love, which is what I've done.
And that means finding your passion, which isn't always easy for some people. You know, they say, do what you love to do, and people say, I don't know what that is.
That's a great question. No, I didn't. I was always asked in a sort of traditional career, what would you like to do when you've grown up, Richard? And I think, I haven't grown up yet, so I don't know. I've never done anything.
Never grow up, that's key.
Well, never grow up is key. And for me, though, the lesson that I've learned is really to look at the people who you admire and whose job you want. And I met some interesting people when I was back at university, and I'd think to myself, I like this lecture, and how do I do your job? And how do I get to be in your spot? I don't know, I don't want to be you, but I want to find out how to get there. So when I wanted to be a trainer and a coach and a writer, I would go and interview people and say, tell me your story, and what can I learn from your story, and what do I need to do to have a slice of what you've got? You
do the research.
Do the research,
And you wrote, I think in your blog, in business there are the quick and the dead.
Very much so.
And I like to be quick.
Yes, you need to be quick.
Which in the Bible means alive.
Very much so, yes. You can't take your time because someone else will get there before you.
Exactly. So if you're an entrepreneur, because the workplace has changed so much, within the corporation is the entrepreneur.
I think so. I think you've got to think of yourself as a business, whether you're in business or whether you're just a regular worker. You're all really running your own business. You sell your time, you get paid for it, your organisation is your customer, you have to make sure your customer is happy. So that's the key shift that we've seen over the last 20 years.
And do you question yourself on your way to work, like, what did I do? Did I fail yesterday? How do I harvest my strengths? All of those things, like the monkey brain starts to go.
All the time. Yeah, all the time. I'm asking myself, did I have a good day yesterday? Did I meet my targets? And more importantly, what can I learn? And if I can't remember, then I'll phone a friend and say, can we have a conversation? Because what has changed is you don't need to do this on your own.
Okay, so you have people in your stable who support you no matter what. People necessarily who also coach, or people from all walks of life?
Yes, I have a business coach, I have a PR team, I have a book coach. So when I was first writing a book, I didn't know how to write books. I'd phone up my book coach and say, I'll buy you lunch and you can tell me how to get published. So you don't do it all yourself, whereas some people will try and take the whole load on their shoulders and they just don't get anywhere.
Sure, well that's one of the problems, isn't it? The know-it-all. Whether if the know-it-all is your boss or the know-it-all is somebody you're trying to do business with, if someone doesn't listen, how can you possibly connect?
It's very hard to connect if you have someone who knows it all. And sometimes I think you just have to take a step back and think, they are who they are, I am who I am, and let's just ride this one and see what happens.
Sure. So what if your company has a vision that you don't endorse? You love your job, all of that, or your new boss has a vision that you don't endorse, and they're going down a path into a direction, and you don't think it's the right direction. Do you say it right out loud? Do you write a letter? Do you tweet? What do you do?
Well, I think I would certainly do all of those things, and I have been in that situation with a boss who went in the wrong direction, and we had the conversation that said, you're heading in the wrong direction here. Here are the facts. You have the product that won't sell, you have the machinery that won't work, and you have a factory that won't produce. And the boss's comment was, make it work.
Aha.
Aha. So you've had your say, he's heard what you've got to say. The only thing you can do is A, make it work, and B, whilst you're doing so, think to yourself, what am I learning here? What's going on for me? So actually, I ran this failing business for the boss. At the time, you think to yourself, this is no fun. At the end of it, though, it was the best business education I could have wished for.
Jimmy Pattison, who's a billionaire, a mogul in this city, he operates like that from my experience with him. He says, I know you can do it, or just make it work.
Just make it work.
You say, well, I can't get a plane out of here in like half an hour, and I won't possibly be able to, make it to Winnipeg by this afternoon. You can do it. Well, make it work.
Make it work. In fact, my boss had a great question, which was, how do you guarantee success? And you would say, I can't guarantee success. And you would say, well, go away and think about it. So in order to turn the failing business into a profitable business, which is what I did,
right,
I had to sit down and think, how do I guarantee success? I have to make the products work. I have to reduce the price. I have to get the factory producing.
Get out the survival kit and make some serious money. Yes, but you also say in your blogs, and your blogs are happy in a sense. You
Very
say,
much so, yes.
Life is just not dull. It really isn't. And yet so many have days when they say, gee, another dreary one.
I think so. I think you have rain on some days. I think it rains sometimes in Vancouver.
Apparently,
so I've heard.
it does.
Apparently it does.
And
yeah.
apparently it rains in the England too.
We've had rain, I think, at least twice this year already. And so you have rain, and you can be sad if you want to and enjoy the rain. And then you think to yourself, it will stop raining, and the sun will come out, and life will get better.
So embrace the grey.
Embrace the grey, and sometimes use it as an opportunity to take a time out.
Well, you have a touchstone I know that you use on your way to work, and I'm a big affirmation person too, and I don't know if they work or not, but I do them all the time.
They do, I think.
Just in case.
They do, yeah.
Like, I am smart, I am well, I am healthy, I am energetic, I can change my life.
You can. I think the key one that I have is that you have a right to be here.
Okay. By your very presence alone.
I think so. I mean, no one said I could write books. I decided that I could write books for myself because I have a right to try that. Why not?
Sure. And you sell.
They do sell, yeah.
Do.
They sell, and they've been translated, and they keep selling. So and they have a right as books, I think.
So when you screw up or when you fail, and whatever your plan was did not work out, where do you find the comeback factor in you?
In me, the bounce back factor, I think, firstly, is to get jolly cross and accept the fact that it's not a nice situation. And then what I do is I start by cleaning my desk. And I literally clean my desk, get rid of all the old paperwork on it, get rid of all the dust, all the things that have accumulated, and I think, fresh desk, time to start again.
Because space has a lot to do with the brain, doesn't it? They say, if you clean out your closet, more will come in. That kind of thing. So physical space, it's all connected in a very weird way.
I think so. I think if you're sitting in the same chair all your life, you'll think the same thoughts and do the same things. So you have to clean your space, change your chair, get a different picture, and suddenly you start to think differently, and then life goes on from there.
Sure, metaphysicians will tell you, take a different route home.
Absolutely.
Buy a different outfit.
Yeah, change clothes, change your watch.
Walk backwards. Write backwards, write with your left hand instead of your right. Yeah,
makes a big difference. I started bouncing back by taking a week off. I wrote half a book about being a dad, and just cleared my system out, really. It was great fun.
Dad to all those noisy kids.
That's all those noisy kids, isn't it?
Oh, nice to meet you. You've got
Thank
4
you very
kids,
much.
right?
4 noisy kids.
And a lovely wife.
A lovely wife too, yes, very much.
That
so,
helps.
Beck. It does indeed, thank you.
Nice to see you. Richard Mon, how to keep your job, brilliant ways to increase performance, stay employed, and keep the money rolling in Remember, you can catch all of our conversations on YouTube. Follow us on Twitter at Fanny Studio 4. Shaw is also pleased to announce its Fill the Food Banks 2012 campaign, which begins April 16. For more information, visit togetherisamazing.com.